So if we take a look at what we actually found here in our 2012, what we came up with is there are actually two 20 amp fuses down here when there should be a 15 according to this wiring diagram. So what that means is that, and clearly that top one marked 20 according to the legend on here, it confirms that that is for audio. So basically what that's telling me is they probably have, even though they'd specified originally a wiring setup without Bose, they've actually gone ahead and pre-wired for Bose, which if we take a look at this, the part that's relevant here is here's this 30 amp connector 05, and there on fuse block 2, which is the one down by the driver's left foot, there's that 20 amp, and the color code is blue coming out and going to the audio amplifier. So that means that this 20 here is actually feeding the audio amp, and if we check the wiring, we do see a heavy blue lead there along with a green and a white with green. But the blue is the one we're actually interested in because that's what feeds the Bose amplifier. Now, Bose amplifier is in the trunk area on these, which is not a bad place to put an amp, especially if you don't have space. We've been tricky. We've managed to feed it into the front in the glove box areas. So where is then, you know, this connector, or how can we actually get at that wire? Well, if we look at wiring diagrams here, yeah, we see that the amplifier connector, gotta flip this page, yeah, here we go. The amplifier connector on our car, C14 is over here, passenger footwell, and from the passenger footwell runs down underneath, and the amp is back in this area here. So this means that from this fuse panel, that blue lead just comes up, across, picks up a connector here, and then runs back. So we can go ahead and pick up the power over here, or we could pick it up over here. Either one of these is going to work for us. We got to feed it to the amp, which is over in here. I'm kind of inclined to take a look over here, see if we can find it, and if we can, either remove it from this plug, because we're not using a Bose amplifier obviously, so we don't need to worry about that. Pick it up here, make a connector. We've got plenty of lead on our amplifier hookup that we've pre-wired here, and go right into that connector. So I'm going to actually go ahead, pop off that little kick panel area there, take a look at that, see if I see that blue wire coming across as it's identified, and if I do, that's what I'm going to go ahead and use for the amplifier. Now our amplifier, little Pioneer amp that we're working with, has a 15 amp fuse already built right into it. This is supplying a 20. Always safer to have a lower current. You don't want to have more than the fuse rating for the supply side. So this will work out perfectly. We won't have to touch this. We won't have to touch the fuse that's in the amplifier. We just simply have to make the connection to this blue lead, and we're going to be ready to go. So going to go ahead, pop that panel off, and then we'll take a look over there and see what we find. Alright, so here's what they did. It is in fact the fuse over here for the Bose setup. They brought it to this first connector, C11. It's a big multi-pin connector right up behind the steering wheel, and then they did not extend it from there, so this sub-harness is not actually there. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring the amplifier wire over, cut it out of this bundle right here since it doesn't go anyplace, and crimp that into place. And of course you want to make sure you have the battery disconnected or this fuse out of the circuit. Better to just disconnect the battery on the whole car before you do this. I'll try to get you a shot of that from underneath the dash, but it's pretty painful to get under there. But if I can get it for you guys so you can see it, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. All right, underneath here. And that bundle you're looking at right there, that big blue wire, that is the one. Comes in on this side, does not go out to the other side. This actually attaches to this cross piece, this metal cross piece that's there. I just got it pulled off to work with it. I've already got my yellow lead here ready to go, and we'll go ahead and see if we can get that cut out and crimped into place. All right, so time to move the climate control out of here into the new Metra kit. Metra kit, by the way, comes both single and double DIN, so we do have to do a little bit of cutting on the plastic of that, but shouldn't be a big problem. But first thing we got to do is we got to take this part out, which is separate from the radio body itself. So I'm just going to put a cloth or something down here so we don't scratch anything. Right, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take this centerpiece out by making a couple of cuts on either side. I'm just going to use a hacksaw blade, just handheld, just to get out, and then I'll smooth the plastic off with a little bit of sandpaper. Ready to go. This has a piece that actually will snap in to finish anyway, so it doesn't have to be super neat, but got that ready. Now I think we're going to need to put some side brackets on because this double DIN, which they supply for holding the radio. Alright, that's what we got. Looks pretty good. Now, a couple of things we're going to need to connect on the back here. Let's take a look at that for a second. Going to have to put the microphone in for the hands-free. We're also going to use the we're going to lose the actual jack on the console for feeding in a headphone or something like that. So we're going to need to put that into place, And we do have USB here too for some for a pass-through for a device, antenna, amplifier inputs here. So we got a couple of things to still connect over at the car before we snap it all back together. So we're going to head over there to take a look at that. All right. Okay, so got all the wires plugged on the back. What we did is I pulled, this radio is quite deep. It actually uses all of the space that's there. So I've pulled the harness pieces and all the excess wire over to the side, including the little module that takes care of our steering wheel control, so that we can get at that. But we'll also tie up all of that wiring for behind the glove box to try to keep this as clear as possible. So let's go ahead and see how we fit. Microphone here for now. Putting the microphone up on the windscreen in a convertible isn't a good idea. It's going to be pretty well useless anyway, but I'm going to see if we can't find some better place. Alright, I'm liking it, because that's what you actually see in the glove box, unless you bend way down and look up inside. Probably dress those wires up with a couple of ties across the top, and then wrap the pieces on the end just so they don't get any rattle or anything. But I think that'll work out alright.